Good evening, peoples. I'm Pastor Leia, and this is my co-host, Ginger Snap. So welcome back to our living room for our series on the apostles. We've been going through them alphabetically, so tonight we come to Nathanael, whose name means God has given. So he's kind of an interesting case in that, so there are 4 Gospels, of course, and then the book of Acts. And 3 of the Gospels list out who the 12 apostles are, and the book of Acts lists out who the 12 apostles are. John doesn't quite anyway, but John is also the only person who mentions anybody by the name of Nathanael. So instead of John having a little sentence of, and these are the names of the 12 apostles, John mentions that there are the 12, but he never says who the 12 are. He doesn't list them out. So the closest that John gets to a list of disciples from John 21, after these things, Jesus showed himself again to the disciples by the Sea of Tiberias. And he showed himself in this way. Gathered there together were Simon Peter, Thomas called the twin, Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 others of his disciples. So he names 7 people, as apostles, not necessarily specifically of the 12, but as, followers of Jesus. So anyway, he names 7, and then he also mentions the 2 sons of Zebedee, but Matthew and Mark both refer to James and John as being the sons of Zebedee, and we're just going to assume that they are the same sons of Zebedee, because that would kind of be a weird coincidence if there were actually 4 sons of Zebedee running around and no one mentioned this following Jesus anyway. Plus there's already more than enough confusion in who is who in these we're getting there. So, basically, John tells us who 9 disciples are and names 7 of them, but doesn't say who, if any, of them are among the 12. So anyway, Nathanael is one of these named people, and he even gets dialogue in the Gospel of John, which I will share now that the cat has calmed down enough to not bat at the Bible. I shouldn't have said that. I might have just jinxed myself. Hi, kitty. From John 1, 43 to 51. The next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip and said to him, "Follow me." Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found him about whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus, son of Joseph, from Nazareth." Nathanael said to him, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" Philip said to him, "Come and see." When Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him, he said of him, "Here is truly an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." Nathanael asked him, "Where did you get to know me?" Jesus answered, "I saw you under the fig tree before Philip called you." Nathanael replied, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Jesus answered, "Do you believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree? You will see greater things than these." And he said to him, "Very truly I tell you, you will see heaven opened and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man." This is the word of the Lord. I love it when Bible characters just get really sassy at each other. It's great fun to read that way. Anyway, so Jesus meets Philip, and Philip is like, "Oh, wow, I should follow this guy." And so Philip then says to his friend, "Hey, Nathanael, oh my gosh, I need to tell you about this person I just met." Nathanael's like, I'm skeptical because he's from where? But I could meet him, I guess. And then Jesus is telling him about himself and where he's from. And he's like, have we met? And Jesus is like, "No, we haven't met." And so anyway, then Nathanael deduces, if we haven't met, then, if he knows things about Nathanael, then he's something special. Anyway. Anyway, I've just read to you the 2 appearances of Nathanael in the Gospel of John, all 2 of them. Indeed, in the New Testament, it's just those 2 passages that mention Nathanael. So this should be another case of a, chill apostle who probably went on to do some important ministry, but not a ministry to the sort of people who would write books or who would write books about him. But of course it's not that straightforward, because why would it be straightforward anyway? So you might remember that a couple weeks ago I had this whole little existential crisis over whether Matthew and Levi were the same person, because I definitely read them as different people, but apparently they're pretty widely assumed to be the same people by scholars and Bible readers, and I still don't know what to do with this in my brain. Anyway, is Nathanael Bartholomew? So it's another one of these. So there are 4 lists of 12 names. And those 4 lists all include Bartholomew, but none of them include Nathanael. So you never see them together in the same room. And also, isn't it weird that Peter Parker never manages to get a photo of Spider-Man, even though he's constantly writing first person narratives about, news articles about Spider-Man and the things that he does. And so weird. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So that was a joke. Yeah. So technically Bartholomew means son of Ptolemy or son of Ptolemy. So it's more like a last name than anything else, I guess. So maybe he just goes by his last name because he just, doesn't like his first name, or maybe there were 4 other kids in his 5th grade science class who all had the same name. There were 5 Michaels in my 5th grade science class. Yeah, I know. So, how do you tell these 5 kids apart if they all have the same name? So maybe this particular person, who is named Nathanael, but there's 4 other Nathanaels, so he goes by his last name instead. Nathanael, but the one who was the son of the other guy. Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of people in the Bible who share names, so why not? So, Nathanael is introduced to Jesus by Philip in the story that we just read. So we can reasonably assume that they are friends. And in the other 3 Gospels, Philip is friends with Bartholomew. Personally, I feel like Philip can have more than one friend. Even I have more than one friend, and I'm very much an introverted indoor cat. And if you've got the sort of personality where you're dropping everything to be among a band of followers who are going after Jesus, I assume that you're extroverted enough to have more than one friend. I don't know. I guess it's kind of an argument that Nathanael and Bartholomew are the same person. Anyway, if you Google Saint Nathanael, the first result is Bartholomew the Apostle. So I can't go off with the fun facts of his feast day is this, and here are the weird little legends about the time that he made friends with a dragon and went to lunch with a princess, and then was killed by being stoned and whatever, because they all get killed in fun ways. But there aren't really those extra canonical legends about Saint Nathanael, because Saint Nathanael is Saint Bartholomew, according to everybody. So is Nathanael Bartholomew? Also, is Nathanael even among the group that John refers to as the 12? So this is our 10th installment in our 12 Apostles series, and we have 5 to go. And to do that math for you, 10 plus 5 does not usually add up to 12, unless you're like George Orwell, I suppose. 1984 joke. Anyway. Anyway, so should Nathanael have even been its own installment, or should it have been part of the Bartholomew evening? I mean, like, after all, if I'm expanding the Apostle series to include followers of Jesus who weren't, like, officially in the top 12, maybe, you know, there should be a lot more installments, and it would be weird to feature Nathanael, who, like, has one speaking scene, but not Mary, wife of Clopas, who actually sticks around for the crucifixion, and also I think may or may not have been the sister of Mary, mother of Jesus, because everyone has the same name. Anyway, so does any of this ultimately matter? Are there bigger questions in the universe to be hung up on? No and yes, I think, respectively. Hey, don't judge me. Judgmental cat. So I thought that this would be a pretty straightforward Bible series. You know, go through the apostles and read a story or two about them and kind of talk about the traditions of where people said that they went to and like how they spread the gospel and how they're remembered. You know, that seems like it should be pretty straightforward. It hasn't been because apparently Matthew is Levi, and apparently Nathanael is Bartholomew, and that complicates things. Anyway, the next apostle will be Simon, called Peter, because, of course, the only options are like 5 people have the same name, and we can't always tell them apart, and it's confusing. Or one person goes by 5 names, slight exaggeration, but there's not much in between those. No, but like at least the Gospels make the whole thing out of, you know what, Simon? I know your name is Simon, but I'm going to call you Peter from now on because of some pun that makes sense in Aramaic but doesn't translate into English. You know, like that's like a part of his story. But it's not like there's a verse where Jesus is like, hey, Nathanael, I'm going to call you Bartholomew now, or like vice versa. Anyway, so another week, another disciple, and another mini existential crisis, because if they've been so consistently considered to be the same person, what am I missing? I must be missing something. Thank you for joining me for another existential crisis about minor biblical figures. Please also join us on Thursday for our social Zoom at 5. Ginger Snap very much looks forward to this time every week. Please bring your pets, especially dogs. I love dogs. I always enjoy seeing dogs. They're better than cats. I'm just saying. And of course, on Sunday morning, we are worshiping in person at 10 a.m. We share our prayer concerns and have a moment with children before we start the camera for the live stream, which starts at around 10:15. So friends, I hope that you are not having small existential or large existential crises over, you know, these sorts of details. I hope to see you soon. And until then, I will bother the cat so that we can say goodnight.